بك المذلومين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب يا مظلوم يا عطشان كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم ولا منا من لجأ إليكم سادتي. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: والقول كالحق والأصدق القائلين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كل نفس ذائقة الموت ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة وإلينا ترجعون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Our lives are filled with so many distractions. Every single day we wake up in the morning and we desire that we are going to reach certain goals and certain objectives that we often create for ourselves. But then all of these distractions, they get in our way. We turn on the TV, we look down at our phone, we get hungry, we see food outside of our window at our office, and immediately this dunya sort of comes into the forefront of our eyes and of our minds and of our souls and takes us away from the ultimate objective of that which we are trying to reach. Every single one of us, whether we're a student, whether we're a professional, or whether we don't work at all, it doesn't make a difference. We all set certain goals for ourselves, consciously or subconsciously, that we desire to reach on any particular given day. But again, it's this world that is so confusing, and that takes us away from our ultimate destination and our ultimate path. For instance, I wake up in the morning and I desire to make sure that every meal that I eat today is going to be a meal that is healthy. I'm going to make sure that I cut my carbs and I limit my sugar intake. But then again, this world is filled with so many distractions. And the minute that you look down at your phone, and the minute that you turn on the TV, and the minute that you're walking to your office, you're filled with all of these enticements that want you to go and eat those foods that are not healthy and drink those drinks that are filled with sugar. Similarly, our soul can be very sort of compared toward those desires of the body that we often engage in on a day-to-day basis. Our souls and our hearts, they also have an objective. They also want to reach something. They're also yearning for something that is proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Feeling the presence of God and being in a state of God consciousness is something that every single human being innately desires. That's why when we feel those moments when we're most connected to our Creator, that's the moment of greatest pleasure and contentment that anyone can ever feel. In a dua of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, he says, Ilahi man dha alladhi dhaqa halawata mahabbatak farama minka badala. He states, oh my Lord, who is the one who has tasted the sweetness of your love and found anything else? Go back to certain moments, the first time that your eyes glanced at the Holy Kaaba. On the night of Laylatul Qadr, when everyone collectively is reciting Dua Joshan al-Kabir. The first time or the last time that you performed the night prayer and you sought forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while everyone else was sleeping. Your feet walking toward the grave site of Sayyid al-Shuhada al-Husayn alayhi salam, and after 3 days your eyes see the golden dome of the King of Martyrs. There are certain moments during the course of our life that allow for us to have a unique feeling of connectivity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those feelings and those moments of khushu' and of real proximity to our Creator that allow for tears to flow down from these eyes. And for our bodies to feel goosebumps just thinking about them. There are often the moments, again, when we felt that sense of unique connectivity and of unique building out of relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So innately we know that it's there, that we want to desire that proximity to our Creator. That we want to feel that feeling of supplicating or seeing the Kaaba, not only for that moment, but in perpetuity. And the way to do that is to have a goal and to reach that ultimate objective every single day, striving for it, for us to gain in terms of that proximity with our Creator. But again, the distractions of this dunya, they're real. They're challenging. And everything gets in our way, and all of these hurdles and all of these obstacles present themselves in front of us. And we are taught by verses of the Holy Quran and by traditions of the Messenger and his immaculate family that the quickest and the easiest way to eliminating all of the distractions of this world, so that not only we're able to think about our objective, but we're able to reach our ultimate objective, is through contemplation of our mortality. In a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he states that the contemplation of death is that which shatters all desire. You're worried about food, you're worried about drink, you're worried about your job, your wealth, you're worried about anything. The moment that you think and that you remember that death is a reality that every single one of us are going to face at one point or another, all of a sudden, all of that ambiguity turns into clarity. How many of you have ever been to a graveyard? To bury a beloved family member of yours, a friend, or just to go and visit? No one is not serious when you go to a graveyard. No one's going to start making jokes. No one's going to be sarcastic, because all of a sudden, life and its reality and our ultimate destination is that which is presented quite literally in front of our eyes. And again, I don't mean to bring up this conversation in order to strike fear in our hearts, because that's not going to do us any good. But it's about us understanding that that is our ultimate sort of objective in this dunya, but that itself is a stepping stone for us to get to the world beyond this one. And oftentimes we are feared conversing about a subject like that of death, because it's often connotated with darkness, and it's connotated with spiders, and it's connotated with the grave, and it's connotated with a bunch of scary things. When in reality, that's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala portrays it in totality. 1/3 of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about death in the afterlife. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, moment after moment within the Holy Quran, manifests toward the reader about his immaculate and all-encompassing mercy and compassion. And oftentimes, because of the negative connotation that often presents itself when we talk about death, it hinders us from speaking about, again, this reality that every single one of us are going to face, when in reality a conversation about death is a conversation about life. If on the very first day you entered into your university, your college, you spoke to your academic advisor, and they ask you the question, what is it that you want to do with your education? What are you going to tell them? Don't talk to me about that right now. Talk to me about that when I'm about to finish. Or talk to me about that after I graduate. No. You want to be able to set these goals and set these objectives from day one. You set those goals from day one, and the opportunity for you to be successful at the output is sort of just that much more. There's that much more potential for us to reach the goal that it is that we're aspiring and that we're desiring to reach. And at the same time, engaging in a conversation about our ultimate reality is going to put things in perspective for us. All of a sudden, we're able to create a plan for ourselves. And we plan and we prepare, and we know that if one plans and they create this roadmap for their life, there's a lot more potential for them to reach again that ultimate end objective. How many of us knew that the career path that we've chosen is that the one that we wanted when we were in college or before that even? when you create that trajectory that you want to reach at the end of the day, and if you go by it, again, there's a lot more potential for you to be successful in that career path. But if you're not exactly sure, you can still reach the goals and you can finally get to those objectives, but oftentimes it's going to take a lot longer. You're going to have to go through that many obstacles and that many hurdles. So I want to be able to discuss this discussion or this conversation on death in 3 different dimensions. The first dimension is in terms of understanding exactly what is death according to Islamic tradition. Secondly, in terms of understanding the stages of death, and we'll try to run by those very quickly. And thirdly, what are we taught from the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, alayhim salatu wasalam, in regards to how we can live a life of immortality? So in the first dimension, we want to be able to again understand then, what is death? And we go and we see that different philosophers and different theologians and different scholars of ethics within the religion of Islam and otherwise have gone toward really reflecting upon the meaning of death and seeking to define it in many a unique way. Some will state, for instance, that death at the end of the day is nothingness, amrun adam. It's just us entering into a phase of our existence whereby there is no reality to it. Well, of course, within Islamic tradition, we have conversations that present toward us that the reality of death is just one springboard toward getting toward the next stage of our life. In a hadith from the Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he states, Darun ila dar. He states that death is just one home, is the passageway from one home into another. And in a conversation with a group of his companions, he states, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he states, I wonder at the individual who builds a home, who builds his home on a bridge. To which they go to him and they say, O Messenger of God, why would anyone build their home on a bridge? And he states, those who preoccupy themselves with this world without any sort of contemplation of the next world, they're focusing solely on their life in this passageway. When in reality, if we see it as a mechanism to get from this destination toward the next destination, again, there's that much more potential for success. And in a narration from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he states, An-nasu niyam, that humanity is all asleep, they're in a slumber. إِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا. And when they die, they wake up again to the reality of this world. And let me just say this, that we are taught within our tradition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the human being, not again only for this life, but to living a life of immortality at the end of the day. That our bodies might die, but our souls are that which consistently remain. And for many people, it's so hard toward grasping this understanding and this reality. But we have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and our souls, and they have been in existence for thousands upon thousands of years. According to traditions, we lived in the world known as Alim al-Dhar or Alim al-Malakut, whereby our souls and our spirits, they were created 2,000 years before the physical creation of Adam alayhi salam. And that 2,000 years can be symbolic of something far greater than just 2,000 years in the way that you and I understand it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us through all of this transition during that universe that we lived in, before He placed us into what is known as Alim al-Arham, or what is known as the universe of the womb of our mothers. And then He placed us into this dunya. And then He's going to place us into the barzakh. And then He's going to raise us on the Day of Judgment. And then He's going to place us into immortal life. And naturally, when we take a look at our lives, change is super hard. How many of us have ever moved, have gone from one school to another, or gone from one job to another? We don't like transition. We don't like change. We like to be comfortable. What's better than just being comfortable exactly where you are? And not having to go through obstacles, not having to go through hurdles. But oftentimes, after going through that initial separation from your initial comfortability, you realize that, wow, this move was really good for me. This transition in life was the best transition that I ever made in my life until the next one 10 years later. How many of us would desire to go back toward living in the womb of our mothers? Think about it. And some days we might say, that life is probably a lot better than this life. Think about it. We were comfortable. We were warm. It's kind of cold outside today. We don't have to get up to use the restroom. We don't have to get up to eat or drink because whenever we were hungry, our moms just fed us. No one would bother us. We never had to deal with people. And sometimes dealing with people are challenging. We only had to deal with our mom. And if we only had to deal with our moms for the entirety of our existence, we'd probably always be very happy. Now go and fast forward 30, 40, 15, 10, 70 years of your life and ask yourself the question, would you rather live the life that you have lived for the last 40, 50 years, or would you prefer to go back into the womb of your mother? I'm sure if you ask that fetus, do you want to go and enter into this world and to enter into the state, this corporeal existence of the dunya, they'd say, no, I'm good here, I'm pretty comfortable in the stomach of my mom. Then all of a sudden, you realize that there's opportunity, there's potential, that there's meaning to your life more than just being fed, and more than just being taken care of, and more than just staying warm. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He took care of us when we were in the womb of our mothers. And He took care of us on the day of our birth, and there's a lot of things that have to go right in order for us to be alive on the day of our birth. And in that first initial few months of our life, those first 3 months, those first 6 months, that first year, a lot of other things have to go right for us to get beyond that and live the life that many of us live today, a life that is virtually healthy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of me in that infancy. He took care of me 2,000 years as my soul existed before the creation of Adam. He's taking care of me when I didn't have any money. He took care of me when I was going through hardship. He took care of me when I was going through an obstacle and a struggle that I was certain that I was never going to get past. He took care of me when I was going through trial and tribulation and adversity. He took care of me when I tried to take that exam. He took care of me when I was giving birth to my child. He took care of me throughout all of these unique obstacles during the course of our existence. And people think that on the day that we die, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to leave you in your grave alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Arhamar Rahimeen, Khayrul Ghafirin, Safar, Ghaffarul Dhunub. Sometimes our fear of death, again, is often connotated with the way that death has been presented toward us. But in that famous conversation between one of the companions of the commander of the faithful, when he goes to Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, and he asks him about death, the Imam alayhi salam, he states, هل رأيت حبيبا يقرأ لقاء الحبيب? And have you ever seen, peace be upon salawatu, he said, have you ever seen a lover not want to go and see his beloved? The man says, absolutely not. He says, then my relationship. In the last 2 months, with all the majalis that I visited, every place that I've gone to, I'm smiling because every place that I've gone to on the day that I enter, the first day, always the microphone gets better. Someone's up with the microphone. Huh? It's the magic in me, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me to get off this window. So the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he states that when we transition from this world into the next, it's us going to visit our beloved. It's us having the ability to be in proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, if we're in a state of understanding that that is our goal and that is our objective, keeping in mind where our introduction was at, when you create a pathway for yourself, and you create this roadmap for yourself, and you know that that's exactly where you want to go and where you want to be, there's just that much more potential for you to reach that. Which is why when you go toward people, you see that so many individuals, they're fearful of that reality. And I am too, but again, it's not something that we sort of wake up in the morning and say, okay, well, tomorrow I'm ready. It's something that we have to work at like anything else in life. You can't go toward that admission counselor the very first day of school and say, you know what, I'm going to be a doctor. And they say, great. And then every day you go to school, you don't study, you don't read, you don't go to class, you don't pay attention, and you say, well, guess what? I'm going to be a doctor, and I set that goal for myself. Well, that requires a little bit of effort, man. That requires some diligence. That requires real focus and determination every single day. So someone says, I want to go and visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want to be in the proximity of the most merciful of those who show mercy, and the most generous of those who emanate generosity. But at the end of the day, your life is led in a way that's so different than the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects His beloved to live. You can't say that every single day in the morning when I wake up, I'm ready to go and visit my Lord. In addition to setting your expectation and creating that objective for yourself, you got to work at it. Which is why when we see ourselves entering into a state of fear of that ultimate reality of ours, oftentimes it's linked with our attachment toward this world, our attachment toward our wealth, our attachment toward property, toward others, whatever it might be. But that's okay, because every day is a new opportunity to sort of reevaluate that ultimate objective of ours. Everyone follow what I'm saying? So of course you're going to find some individuals who are going to say, no, I'm fearful of the next world because they don't believe in the next world. But when we have a sense of conviction, then we know that it's a reality. And if we're an individual who's a sinner, we're an individual who sort of commits crimes and goes against the laws and the abidements of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or that which He has created for us to prosper, then again we're going to enter into a state of fear because we know that there's going to be a sense of accounting or judgment for that which it is that we have performed during the course of the 70, 80, 100 years of the life that we live in this dunya. But if we know that that's where we want to go, and every day we begin by thinking about our ultimate destination, and we end by thinking about our ultimate destination, then naturally in the morning we're going to strive and put forth our best effort toward making sure that we're getting from point A to point B. And at the end of the night, before we go to bed, we're going to be in a state of evaluation of our own souls and say, I made all these mistakes today, let me ask for forgiveness. And then when you go to sleep, you enter into your bed and you put your head down. You're not worried about anything. God forbid something happens to you during the course of your night, because you've already made amends for everything that you've done during the course of that day. And all of a sudden, it's really not that bad, is it? Everything's sort of in a state of a little bit more clarity. And that brings me then toward the second dimension of my discussion. And that is in terms of understanding the stages of death, and I just want to go through two super quickly. The first one of these is what is known as al-ihtidar, or those moments which prepare the human being toward transitioning from this world into the next. And it's all about understanding, again, just how transient this dunya is. It is stated that one day, Bahdun, he went toward Harun al-Abbasi. And he stated, oh Harun, tell me. He stated that if you were stranded in the middle of a desert and you were dying of thirst, would you trade half of your kingdom for one cup of water? And he states, of course I would. Because if I didn't have that cup of water, I would die of thirst and I wouldn't have the other half of my kingdom. So he states, good. And then he states, oh Harun, I have another question. He says, okay, ask me. He states that if you drank that one cup of water and you were stranded in that middle of the desert, and it was too painful for you to excrete that water that you drank, na'udhu billah. Some people, due to illness or whatever, it's difficult and it's painful for them to use the restroom. He states, would you trade the other half of your kingdom to virtually urinate it out? He states, of course I would. He states to live your life knowing that. Knowing that it's the value of a cup of water and removing it from your mind. Husband says, well, wait a minute. That's what life is about. It's something that passes by so fast. It's something that the reality of it is something that just passes by like wind. And that moment of al-ihtibar, those last moments of a believer's life, are an opportunity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put us through one more test, or to put us through one more examination. In numerous ahadith and traditions, they tell us that this is the moment when the family members, they will come and they will know that this individual's soul is going to leave their body. And thus they will remind them to tell them to recite the shahada, recite dua, make Quran, or whatever it is around their body, in order to get them in a state of cognizance and of ma'rifah that they again are transitioning from this world to the next, so just to be aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence. And at the same time, other traditions state these are also moments in which the angels come and will ask them, are you a believer or are you not? And we have other ahadith that tell us that during this moment, it's not really something that you can prepare for at that moment, but in reality, it's sort of the life summation of your examinations. That oftentimes we go through different exams and trials and tribulations during the course of our life, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for some individuals, He will give us a lot of opportunities before we reach that ultimate destination, whereby we have the opportunity to enter into eternal paradise, or God forbid, eternal damnation. And for other individuals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He'll give us one opportunity that's going to be the be-all, end-all. For whatever reason, out of the wisdom of God, we see an example like that of Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, where on the day of Ashura, what does he say toward his companion? As he is witness toward that which is happening to the family of Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, he states, Inni ara nafsi bayna jannati wa nar. He says, surely I see myself between the gardens of paradise and the fires of hell. And he said, I swear to God, nothing is as valuable as paradise for Hussein. At that moment, he had to make his decision. And he did what he did. And that moment of al-ihtibar, those last moments before our souls depart from our body, it's also going to pass really quickly. And we're going to have an opportunity to tell that angel that I want to enter into paradise, or make sure that you allow for me to be enveloped in the mercy of God. And if we don't say it quick enough, oftentimes we're told from the member and we're reading books and so on that that's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to cast us into hell and burn us and do all of these scary things. Don't think of it like that. If we think of it and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing us every single day, and it's again the summation of the example or the examinations of every single individual day that will come into fruition on that last day, then we're going to be okay. And if every day we're setting forth that objective that I'm living not for this world but for the next, and before I go to bed I'm living for this world and not for the next, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of me in that universe before this one, and He's certainly going to take care of me during my next transition, and at the end of the day there's nothing to be fearful about. It's just about being in a state of cognizance and of ma'rifah and of understanding that again we're transitioning from point A to point B. And then we enter into that next stage, and then again is the reality of that which is death. And for the believer, we're taught within our tradition again that they see it as this opportunity for them to visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is stated that on the 20th of the month of Ramadan, after the sword had hit and struck the sacred head of the commander of the faithful, alayhi salatu wasalam, all of the companions were told to leave the household of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he asked all of his family members to get closer toward him so that he could read to them his final will and so on and so forth. As we often read on the 20th of Ramadan during the Masa'ib, there was one man, one companion, who was outside of the house of the commander of the faithful. And he is weeping and he's grieving so loudly. So the Imam Salamullah alayhi looks to Imam al-Hassan and he states that, go and tell the companions that they should all leave, so I'm able to spend time with my family. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he goes to the door. And he opens the door and he sees one of the companions of Imam Ali, a man by the name of Asbagh ibn Nubata. He says, "Oh, Asbagh," he said, "please, why don't you leave, go home, and inshallah we'll brief you on the situation of Imam Ali." He says, "No." He said, "I want to see Imam Ali alayhi salam one more time." So he comes inside and he looks at the Imam salamullah alayhi, and he's in a stage of real intense grief. To which the Imam alayhi salam, he states, "Ya Asbagh la tabki. Innaha wallah jannah." He says, oh Asbagh, don't weep, don't grieve. Right in front of my eyes, I'm seeing paradise. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he was not seeing this world, he was seeing the next world. Even though he was physically alive in this dunya. To which Asbagh, he responds with this epic line toward the commander of the faithful. He says, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm not weeping nor am I grieving out of fear of what is going to happen to you. I'm grieving over myself. What is life without Ali ibn Abi Talib?" And again, going back to this idea of where the commander of the faithful is in these moments, someone says that's only the level that can be reached by someone like Ali ibn Abi Talib. But no, that's not the case. Yes, he manifests and illuminates it toward the highest of levels and toward the highest of stages. But every single one of us have the opportunity toward reaching a state whereby we are already transitioning from this world to the next. Even though in reality we are living in this world, and again it starts with our mindset and being in a state whereby we are understanding what our ultimate goal and ultimate objective is. Let me give you an example. We take a look at the example of Qasim ibn al-Hassan on the day of Ashura. Qasim ibn al-Hassan, 13 years old. Qasim ibn al-Hassan, yes, he's the son of Hassan ibn Ali, salamullah alayhi, the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but he's 13 years old. What do we read on the day of the Masab of Qasim? Then he goes, he fights valiantly, he kills 62 people. Qasim in the middle of the battlefield, he goes down to fix his slipper, and someone from the army of Umar ibn Sa'd comes and strikes him on his sacred head, which leads to his martyrdom. Let me ask you a question. Qasim alayhi salam, not only is he 13 years old, or oftentimes the way that we understand it from a very physical level is that the reason why he looked down to fix his slipper is just because he was a young boy and none of this world really mattered to him, or he wasn't really focused during the course of battle. And I've heard this before many times. But that's not the reality. That's for people who don't understand who Ahlul Bayt, peace and blessings be upon them, are. Understand what I'm saying for just a moment. How many of you have ever played a sport before? You're playing a sport, you're like playing basketball, and your shoelaces are untied. Oftentimes, it's not you realizing that your shoelaces are untied. It's someone coming up to you and saying, "Hey man, you better tie your shoelaces." Because the adrenaline and the focus and the determination that you have while you're playing in the game that you're playing in does not allow for you to see anything other than the man that you're defending or the basket that you're attacking. Qasim ibn al-Hassan was not on a basketball court. He was in the middle of a battlefield where there were 30,000 people ready to shed his blood regardless of whose son he was or irregardless of what age that he was. The reason why Qasim looks down to fix his slipper is because he was already transitioning from this world to the next. None of that mattered to him. Not the adversity, not the difficulty, not the swords, not the spears. None of that mattered to Qasim ibn Hassan. Imam al-Hussein, salamullah alayhi, after every single one of his family members and companions had been killed, he goes out to fight in the battlefield, and one of the commanders of the army of Umar bin Sa'd, they state, "Unduru ilayhi la yubali bil maut." Look at this man. Death doesn't faze him. After everything, death doesn't faze him. I wasn't concerned. He knew what his ultimate objective was. You look at someone like Abbas, this elderly man. He takes off his armor, takes off his helmet, he runs into the middle of the, literally runs into the army of Umar bin Sa'd. To which they call out, "Abbas, have you gone crazy?" He says, "Naam, hubb al-Hussein. Ajannani." Yes, The love of Hussein has made me go crazy. And you come and you take a look. Where are we during the course of our lives? We manifest and illuminate this same quality many a time so subconsciously over things that are more valuable to ourselves than ourselves. You don't sleep at night because your children are so small. And children, they just don't like to sleep at night. I have two of them, they never let me sleep. It won't bother you, the lack of sleep, because you know that your children are more important to you than yourself. When you're working and you're doing something that is meaningful for you, when you're studying for an exam that is super important, your body no longer matters. The adversity doesn't matter. The challenge of a lack of energy or whatever it is doesn't faze you. The only thing that you care about is reaching that objective because of how prevalent it is in the front of our minds. Similarly, if we know and if we're cognizant every single day that our final destination and our ultimate destination is reaching that grave in a state of being a recipient of the mercy and the blessing and the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing in terms of adversity will face us. And this brings me then toward the third dimension of my discussion. And that is, how do we get to that level? We understand what death is. We understand that in death we have to go through these stages that again are very quick and very transient and are at the end of the day a culmination of our entire lives. But what can we walk away with then? How do we get to that stage of Abis, of Qasim, of illuminating some of the light of Ali or Hussein or Ahlul Bayt? Peace and blessings be upon all of them. It starts again by creating that roadmap. By literally telling yourself that this is what I'm living for. Once you tell yourself that you're living for your children, you're living for your career, you're living for something that is meaningful for you, at the end of the day, things just get a lot easier. But if you tell yourself, I don't want to go, I can't do that, it just becomes that much more challenging. My older daughter is 4 years old. Her name is Zayn. Thank God for her. She started pre-K a couple of weeks ago. She had a lot of separation anxiety when she first started school. Every single day, we're taking her to school. The night before, she would get sick, or she would tell us that her stomach is hurting, and she's very sick, and she cannot go to school. And we would go to school, and she would cry, and she would hold on, and she would weep, and she would say, I can't go, I don't like this, I don't want to leave you, and so on and so forth. And every day we would go and pick her up from school, the teachers would say that your daughter was crying hysterically. It was really, really difficult. She couldn't focus. The only thing that she wanted was her parents. We knew that putting her in school and putting her through school and slowly that anxiety is going to fade and she's going to start to do better. But initially, it was very, very challenging because she was telling herself at that very young age that she's only comfortable with her parents. Eventually, what happens? The only thing that has to transition is the narrative in her mind. By telling her that school is fun, you get to see friends, you get to socialize, you get to play with blocks, you get to play games, you get to run around in the park. You get to do all of these things that are so exciting. And it's a lot more fun than staying at home. And she would say, no, I don't like to. And every single day, the intensity of her dislike for school would slowly start to decline. Until eventually, she embraces it. And then on Saturday, she wakes up early in the morning. She says, Baba, let's go to school. She says, no, school on Saturday. She says, oh, no, but I want to go to school today. Why? Because the narrative in her mind has transitioned. And all of a sudden, you start seeing that when you're more positive in your outlook in regards to anything, the opportunity for you to yield that much more benefit from what it is that you're doing multiplies and increases incrementally. Similarly, us creating that sense of notion and perception in regards toward leaving this world and transitioning from this one to the next one is not going to happen overnight. We're not going to wake up in the morning tomorrow and say, all right, I got this. But it's something that we think about and that we slowly work towards shifting the narrative. That is step number one. The second thing that we need to do and that we must do during the course of these days of our lives is to making sure, again, that we're in a state of humbling ourselves in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And understanding that all of the obstacles and the tests and the examinations of life, again, are something that we just have to deal with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in this verse that I began with, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. That every single heart, every single soul, every human being is going to have to face death. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً. And we are going to try you by the good and by the evil of this world. وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And surely we will have you return back to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to put us through unique trials, unique obstacles, unique tribulations. But if we are in a state of humility in front of our Creator, by seeking forgiveness for when we are at fault, by supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to drowning ourselves in the du'as of Ahlul Bayt, peace and blessings be upon them. By literally entering into the state of prostration and saying, oh Allah, I'm scared. I don't want to go into that next world. Why don't you help me ease that anxiety in the same way that you help your children ease their anxiety when they're going through different transitions during the course of their life. Sometimes we just need to open up ourselves and humble ourselves in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, I can't reach that without your help and without your support. Thirdly, by doing things like performing the night prayer, Salatul Layl. You stand up in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the darkness of the night. He will make sure that He illuminates your grave when we think that it's going to be dark. That doing small things that are practical, that we can really strive with this intention toward understanding that that is our ultimate destination, all of a sudden again we'll see that our perception, our mindset, and eventually reaching that destination is going to be something that is far more seamless than we could have ever imagined. And when we come toward the example of the Messenger and his immaculate family, peace and blessings be upon them, we come and we see that they were individuals again who understood that this life is just a transition from this to the next. But with that transition also comes difficulty. When you lose a family member, when you lose a loved one, you feel like it's something that you can never get over. Your heart aches for them. Because this is amongst the beauty of this dunya, that we're able to build out relationships with people. And to feel that sense of grief at the same time is also okay. And we see that from Ahlul Bayt, alayhim salatu wasalam. You lose a mother, you lose a father, you lose a child, you lose a grandparent, whatever it is, a brother or sister. You lose someone who's near and dear to you, and it shatters your heart. And according to the narration from the Imam sallallahu alayhi, which he states in Kunta baqiyan ala shay, fa'abki ala al-Husayn. Now when you enter into that state of grief for whatever it is that you're grieving, then transition your grief into the grief of Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Because he helps, again, allow for our lives to be put into a state of clarity and removes all of the confusion, and removes all of the distraction, and removes all of the ambiguity, because we understand that there is an objective, and that there is a purpose. And there is no grief like the grief of Hussein. There is no day like the day of Hussein. And amongst those losses that inflicted pain on the heart of Sayyid al-Shuhada al-Hussein alayhi salam, unlike anything else, was the martyrdom of his son, Ali ibn Akbar. The narration is stated that Fatima bint al-Hussein, one of the daughters of Imam al-Hussein, when she reaches Medina, she states that my father's back was broken 3 times on the day of Ashura. And every single one of them had to do with the son of Imam al-Hussein, Ali ibn Akbar. She states that the first moment when the back of my father broke was when Ali ibn Akbar left the tent the first time. The second was when Ali ibn Akbar returned back to his father and called out, so the thirst of Kabra is killing me. And the third time that the back of my father broke was when he called out, Aba alayka min salam. What happens? It is stated that Ali ibn Akbar, when he leaves and he departs from the tent the very first time, he goes and he embraces Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And the narrators of the Maqtal, they state that 2 times on the day of Ashura, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam fell unconscious. The first time was when Imam Ali al-Akbar came to bid farewell to him, and the second one was when Qasim came to bid farewell to him. It is stated that he goes out and he fights valiantly. He kills 120 people, calling out, Ana Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali. نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي أضربكم بالسيف أحمي أنا أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. And a few moments later, as Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was standing on that hill, and Layla saw the face of Imam al-Hussein and made that call, Ilahi bi ghurbat al-Hussein, bi atash al-Hussein, by the thirst of Hussein, return my son back to me. Ali al-Akbar returns back. He comes to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He embraces him. He tells him that the thirst of Karbala is killing me. The weight on this armor is paining my back. I don't want to get into the whole masa'ib, but eventually he goes back toward the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, and he fights valiantly until he makes that call. But I want to just leave you with this moment. Hamid ibn Muslim, he states that when Ali al-Akbar was struck and he makes that call, Aba alayka min salam, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gets on top of his horse and he begins to ride toward the body of Ali al-Akbar, and he begins to ride toward the right side of the battlefield. And at that moment, Sukaina, she comes out of the tent and she says, Oh my father, Aba Abdullah, you're riding toward the right side of the battlefield when your son Ali al-Akbar is on the left side of the battlefield. You're going the wrong way. And at this moment, Imam al-Hussein turns back. He states, La talumini, hada bunay Ali, don't blame me, this is my son Ali. And then he narrates that when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam finally reaches the body of Ali al-Akbar, he sees it in the state that it's in, with that spear that's been pierced through its chest, and with the head of Ali al-Akbar that has blood exploding from it. It is said that if Imam al-Hussein, he sees it, and have you ever been through such a difficulty, such a trial, you can't feel your legs? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam tried to alight from his horse, he couldn't. So Hamid ibn Muslim says, I saw Abu Abdullah push himself off the horse and jump onto the body of his son Ali, calling out, Bunay Ali! لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the grief in our hearts and the tears in our eyes, to allow for us to be amongst those who walk in the footsteps of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow for our transition from this world into the next world and be in the company of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in this life, so he can grant us his ziyarah in the next life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the shafa'ah of Imam al-Hussein in the dunya and the barzakh and the akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the opportunity to visit him next year during the Arba'een of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and every year inshaAllah. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin. We could ask you all to recite one short Mubarak al-Fatiha, but before that, let's salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi wa